I'm just a kid. I don't know what to say. Is God listening?
Hey everyone, it's me, Ashton. I'm here to continue our series about the Lord's Prayer called Teach Us to Pray. Have you ever thought about what you want to be when you grow up? Some of you may have an exact idea of what you want to do. You have it all planned out. Maybe you want to be a firefighter.
Huh? You want a piece of me, you red-headed twig? Your mother was a toothpick. Yeah, I said it. Oh, put up your dukes. Oh, you don't even have any dukes.
No, not that kind of firefighter. I'm talking about a real firefighter, one that works hard at saving lives. Or maybe you want to be a professional dancer. Not quite what I had in mind. I'm talking about this kind of professional dancer. Or maybe you have always dreamed of being a scientist.
I am a scientist. You take the blue chemical and you mix it with the red chemical and be amazed at what happens.
Wow, that's dangerous. I was thinking more of a scientist like this.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Boing. Listen very close. E equals MC over Y to the T plus 2 minus the P and add the M. Why? I don't really know. That's just what we're supposed to do as chemists and crazy, fun-loving scientists like myself. Toodles.
Or maybe you've always dreamed of being a teacher, a missionary, or a pastor. We all have plans for our lives, but there's one plan that's way bigger than any of the others that we have to consider. God's plan. You see, if we want to succeed, it's not about our plans or our will for our life. It's about God's plan and His will for our life. And that's the next part of the Lord's Prayer we're focusing on. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. This means that we're supposed to do our very, very best to follow God's plan and will for our lives. It's a choice we have to make, but it's an easy choice. Why? Because we understand which is more important and best for us. It's a no-brainer. For example, if I gave you the choice of cake or broccoli, which would you choose?
Oh my goodness, I love cake. Cake is so good for you. Wow. It's good.
Or you could choose a hug from your mom or a punch in the stomach from the bully at school.
Which one would I choose? Thinking, oh, hello. Mommy.
Of course you would choose the hug from your mom. It's a no-brainer. It's just like choosing between a lump of coal and $1 million. It's a no-brainer choice. In our lives, we have to decide, are we going to choose our will for our lives or God's will? It's a no-brainer. God's will, His plan is always better. Sometimes our plans match up with His, but sometimes ours is totally different than His. One thing is for sure, His will is always what's best for us. If we want to follow His will, we have to be willing to leave ours behind. And that brings us to today's big idea. Today's big idea says, I'm gonna do my Father's will. So, every time today that you hear this sound,
Hey, what's the big idea?
stand up to your feet and say, I'm gonna do my Father's will. And that's today's big idea. Well, it's time for you to get into your lesson today as you learn about the Lord's Prayer and how to see God's will. Until next time, this is Ashton reminding you, you can pray every single day. See ya!
If If you're feeling all down, feeling kinda weak, let me tell you just what you need. Tomfoolery. Tomfoolery.
Hello kids, it's me, Tomfoolery, and I'm here today to teach you another little bitty piece of the Lord's Prayer. But before I do, I want to introduce you to someone. Many of you kids might be asking yourself, why does Tomfoolery wear such a funny looking hat? It looks like a banana has exploded on his head. Well, if you must know, this is a hat of a royal court jester. It's my job to make the king laugh. What king, you ask? Well, if you must know, it's the Monkey King, of course.
Hello.
All hail the Monkey King! Monkey King, what do you have to say for us today?
2 times 2 equals potato.
Boys and girls, between you and me, the king's not that smart. In fact, he's a really dumb king. Wait a minute, dumb king. Kingdom? Kingdom? That's exactly what we're going to learn today. I'm going to teach you the next part of the Lord's Prayer, and it says, Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Matthew 6:10. That was a very delectable verse. Boys, I want you to say it with me on the count of 3, so go ahead and stand to your feet. 1, 2, 3. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Matthew 6:10. Fantastic job, boys! Have a seat, have a seat. It's time for the little lovely ladies to say it with me. So stand up on your pretty little toes. On the count of 3, say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Matthew 6:10. Fantastic job, girls! Have a seat, have a seat. Listen, I want to tell you something very cool. Did you know that God is a king? He is our king and he has plans for everything in this whole world. You know that we refer to his plans as his will. And if you're going to live for him, you've got to live by his will. So, will you stand to your feet and let's all say the power of us together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Matthew 6:10. Smashing job, everyone! Have a seat, have a seat. Listen, we're going to do something just a little bit tricky. We're going to take last week's part and mix it with this week's part and say it all together. Here we go. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. So, now you know how it all fits together. Let's all stand up and say the entire thing together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Splendid job, boys and girls. Well, it's time for me to make the Monkey King his dinner.
Monkey King want funnel cake.
Well, before I do, I'm gonna leave you with this. Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up their clock. But due to some extreme issues with fears of heights, he's still up here to this day. Goodbye.
Tomfoolery. Tomfoolery.
Hey boys and girls, it's Dee Dee coming to you from my house. I'm outside enjoying the sunshine. We are going to continue our lesson on the Lord's Prayer. So if you want to open up to Matthew 6 verse 9, we are going to talk about thy kingdom come, thy will be done. So the question is, how do we follow God's will? Well, that's what we're going to learn today. And the first thing is, how do we get rid of our will? So if we really want to do God's will, how do we do that? In the Lord's Prayer, that's what we're praying. And it says we have to decide that our will, what we want, doesn't matter anymore. It's what God wants for us. Now, there's nothing wrong with having dreams and plans and hopes, what you want to do for your life. But the big thing is God has a certain plan for each of your lives, just like he had for mine. And so Jesus understood this. So in the book of Mark 14, Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane. And only minutes before Jesus was supposed to be arrested and be put to death, he knows what's going to happen. And Jesus, he doesn't want to die. Do you think he wanted to die? I don't think so. He was probably a little scared, but he asked God, if possible, please let this cup pass from me. In other words, is there any way possible that I don't have to die? That's what he was asking God to do. And is there any other way for forgiveness to come across the world without me dying, is what Jesus was saying. He wasn't excited about dying, but he said to God, even so, I want your will, not mine. So Jesus knew that he had to get rid of his own will and what he wanted in order to embrace God's will for him. So I think that's pretty awesome. If we hold on to what we want for our lives, then we can't succeed in what God wants for our lives. So we can fully embrace God's plan. We have to get rid of what we want and really listen to what he wants for us. It's not an easy thing to do, but kids, it's really worth it. The second part is listening to God's voice. We must spend time with God to hear his voice. We've talked about that before, like just be still and just be quiet and know God wants to share something with us. And you're probably thinking, does God talk to kids? We know that he does. He talks to adults, he talks to older people, and definitely he talks to kids. We find an amazing story in 1 Samuel 3, and it's about a boy named Samuel. Samuel was a boy who lived in the temple and worked for the prophet Eli. Can you imagine living in a church? I think that'd be pretty cool. Samuel was sleeping one night, and he was awakened by a sound saying, Samuel, or whatever voice God uses. I'll do a deep voice. And he assumed it was the prophet Eli wanting him. So he got up and went to Eli's room and said, did you need me? And Eli said, I didn't call you. Go back to bed. Samuel went back to sleep. He was awakened again with the same thing. Samuel. He got up, went to Eli, and once again, Eli said, I didn't call you. Go back to bed. So Samuel went back to bed, and guess what? It happened again. So he said, all right, Eli, did you need me? Eli said, no, I didn't call you. But Eli had a thought. He told Samuel, go back to bed. If it happens again, wake up and say, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. So God began to tell Samuel some very important things after he said, all right, God, I'm here. Tell me, I'm your servant. Tell me what you want from me. So he was telling Samuel some very bad things were going to happen to Eli and his sons. So he would have never known to help Eli and his sons out if he wasn't listening and said, Lord, I'm your servant. What's your will for me? Tell me I'm listening, okay? So once we hear God's voice, we need to obey instructions. Sometimes that's hard, as a kid, you want to do your own thing and you want to play your PlayStation longer. You want to play outside and your mom's saying, hey, get your homework done or do the dishes or make your bed before you go out. Well, if we don't obey, we get in trouble, right? Well, God wants to obey his instructions. So once we hear God's voice telling us what we need to do in a certain situation, we must obey him. Samuel understood this. God told Samuel about the very bad things that were going to happen to Eli and his son, and Samuel's job was to deliver the message. But he didn't want to deliver it because he thought Eli would be mad or upset with him. Even though it was really difficult, Samuel obeyed and told Eli the message that God had given him. Jesus obeyed God and he died on the cross. Did he want to die on the cross? No, but he listened and he obeyed. We must be willing to obey God to do his will. It may not always be easy, but we always know his will is what's best for us. So this week, just read over Mark 14 and 1 Samuel 3, along with the Lord's Prayer. And I think those are great Bible stories, just how we can be still and listen to God's voice and his will for us, especially in this time. We have a lot of free time. So let's give God our ear and listen and see what he has in store for us. I love you all. Hope you have a great week. See you next time.
Oh yeah, this is Skittles. I'm gonna introduce you to my little brother Starburst. He's gonna wrap it up.
Sometimes we wanna do things all on our own, but we must remember that God is on the throne. So listen to his voice and do your Father's will, and he will lead you safely. Oh yes, he will. Yeah, baby, you gotta say no to your will and say yes to God's. I'm Starburst,